Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel here today. Today we're going to be watching episode 30 of Revolutionary Girl Utena and we're pretty excited to be here doing just that. Yeah, we're back. We're back for another week. We're feeling good. We're feeling refreshed, which is the most important part. And unfortunately we're only going to tackle one episode, but I think that's for important structural reasons coming up. So let me explain. Episode 30, we're going to watch it today. We're excited to be doing so. I would like to do two, but I can't, because episodes 31 and 32 go together in a very similar way that I believe it was 22 and 23 went together, because that was the end of the kind of shadow arc. What are we calling it? Black Rose arc. There we go. Names, of course. So cool. That's a two-parter, 31, 32. Sweet. And then 30, I've been told many, many times to do it by itself. It's technically a recap episode, but it's big, huge, awesome, gonna blow my mind, epic, cool stuff. So looking forward to that as well. And yeah, that kind of fits my structure with one episode this week, two the following, and then one the following, two the following, and maybe we can just do that all the way to when we finish the show. This is more just explaining it to me because I want to watch more, but there's reasons why I can't. So I'm talking to myself when I say this as well. Don't watch more. You're not allowed to. Next week. You'll get there. Either way, let's jump into those YouTube comments from the Patreon reaction last week. Very, very cool. As always, if you're a patron, you have access to the YouTube comments and can tell me anything about the series and that kind of thing. And, you know, the world's your oyster, basically. You can use it for whatever you want to. Like Chobo Ruby here with a very nice message here that says, I can exercise discretion as to what I want to talk about with regards to their comments in particular. Sure. I mean, the problem is that I find most of it interesting because the show's interesting, so I just kind of want to talk about all of it all the time. But I will exercise some discretion in the future, especially if there's like big comment chains in the future. I don't know. It's really up to me, and I think most stuff is interesting to talk about, so that's why the videos are as long as they are. Specifically, this is in regards to my initial reaction to, what was the last week, episode 29, where I said I wouldn't say it's one of the best episodes in the series or anything. I will absolutely rescind this. You can see me over the course of that analysis segment just finding how much there actually is there and how masterful it is, talking about each of these characters and their relationships with each other. We had a big, long discussion on Discord about it, which I found very fruitful as well, just about how different characters respond to different stimuli in that love triangle and the way the chairs are facing and all that kind of stuff. And what's the best way to do this? Let me check some stuff. Hang on. Yeah, I hope they don't mind me doing this, but this is the Discord. Hello, the Discord. And I wanted to bring this up in particular because my initial reaction to last week's episode 29 was that it was ultimately a pretty sad thing for Juri, right? Like, it's pretty hopeless for everybody involved, actually. Ruka's dead. He didn't help Juri achieve hope. It was my initial interpretation, right? Juri is unable to be with the one she loves, and Shiori's just kind of lost in all of it. I thought it was pretty sad across the board for all the characters. But I really like this interpretation from Joran, and kind of talks to a few of the people saying that it's really hopeful, like this ending in actuality, right? So let's just read verbatim here. Hosoda really likes Juri as a character. In some interviews, he talks about how he considers Ruka as the one who saves Juri. Ruka understands Juri because he's in the same situation as her, in love with someone who will never reciprocate, so he hopes he can free her from the pain caused by these things. But changing someone's feelings like that requires a miracle, and a miracle requires sacrifice. In the end, Ruka sacrifices himself so that Juri can be free from her feelings for Shiori. So again, perfect world scenario, everybody ends up with who they want to be with, and they're a nice little poly triangle. That's just going to be awesome, but again, not realistic. So the next best thing we can do, because again, Shiori's never going to love Juri like that. It's, again, in the same way that Juri swings one way, I think Shiori swings the other potentially, even though I've had my evidence to the contrary. So in Ruka's mind, this is a hopeless endeavor for Juri, right? So, what am I going to do with my sacrifice and my miracle per se, right? I'm going to metaphorically cut Juri loose from her hope at the moment, which is around Shiori. So, I'm going to cut that locket off, using the duel as part of that process, obviously, where we actually cut that locket away from her chest, that kind of again, I said it last week, it's like a chain around her neck as well as, a locket symbolizing somebody that she loves. It's quite complex in that way, right? And Ruka's read is that, hey, you'll never get this, so I'm going to cut you free of these feelings. And into that, we have this image, obviously. I know it isn't framed correctly, but bear with me. Where, this is what I see as the final moment where he's kind of like almost using the last essence of his life to kind of grant his version of this wish, to grant this miracle to her. There's plenty of evidence for this, that he succeeded in doing so based on the chair arrangements at the very end, right? So initially we have the chairs here. What's the best view of them? Right here, probably, right? Judy's chair pointed at Shiori. Shiori's pointed at Ruka. Ruka's right now is pointed at Judy, right? It goes around in that circle like that, right? By the very end of it, right? It's almost as if Ruka's wish comes true as well in sacrificing his own life. Like, Judy's chair is now pointing at him, he doesn't exist, and Shiori's chair is pointing at Judy's. So again, that there's some bittersweet irony to this occurring after the fact, but it also could be the response of the miracle actually occurring here. What Ruka actually wanted, again, sacrificing his own life in the process. And just because we can, we have a little clip here of the kind of chain being cut, the stumbling, the holding of the heart. One of the most effective sequences in the episode, for sure. One of the best animated pieces in the show, I would say. It's actually gorgeous. I didn't mention it last week, but yeah, evidently another Hosoda episode. Clearly likes Judy. I mean, that's like his girl. And then, yeah, we had a big, long conversation about it. It's, Discord's cool. So again, that changed my interpretation per se, but I don't know if I'm fully on board with everything there yet. I still see the ending there as ultimately more bitter than sweet, but I can see what Ruka was trying to do now, even if I don't think that that's even the correct answer. I would love some happiness for Judy in general, right? But continuing here, we have Choboribi's comment again. Regarding the first Shadow Girls play, there may be some puns in there as well. They already did one of the puns early in the series when the guy is selling a bag of tires. A sea bream is called tai, and you make a dish called taiyaki with them. Okay, fair enough, sure. So hence fishing, you fish for a tire, taiyaki. I kind of see what they're doing there. In a similar way, you have a sandal, which is gita. And then, yeah, we make a lot of different little Japanese puns and that kind of thing, and I won't go into them specifically. But I see a very much more basic view of that Shadow Girl sequence. Again, they're just all fishing for each other, and they're not getting what they want. That's essentially what I see in it. Maybe there is puns there, maybe there is a layer to the Japanese that I'm not getting, but I'm pretty satisfied with my own interpretation. And yeah, we seem to lock in on the period stuff here as well. Not that I want to delete the comment or anything, but I'm just like, that's more of like the Nanami thing, right? Maybe it's on the mind based on the previous episodes, but again, it's neither here nor there for me. I have a reminder up here for myself as well, but I already did it. Very, very cool. And then we have the last comment here from Victoria. It still makes me laugh so hard that nobody polished that sword. Which again, credence is given to that with Shiori's actions through the rest of it. A lot of me last week was interpreting that, oh, Shiori actually secretly has been, liking Judy the entire time and we're going to have a happy ending. That was hopeless. That wasn't correct. And yeah, nobody was polishing anybody's sword, right? But like, both Ruka and Shiori really wanted this story to work for both their intents and purposes. So they just kind of ad-libbed it on, right? Again, I guess it's up to interpretation, because Victoria's interpretation here is that Shiori is still into women, which I guess she follows Judy at the end. It's hard to say. Unless there's more content about it, I think it's I think it's on purpose ambiguous at the moment if she likes Judy or not. I think some element of her does like her, but it's also a matter of her own insecurities getting in the way and not being worthy for her. And again, all those feelings that came out in the Shadow Girl stuff. Interesting. I don't know yet. Because again, if Shiori and why don't Shiori and Ruka get together? I think it's more on the basis of Ruka not liking Shiori, liking Judy instead. Again, we've had a lot of that kind of Black Rose arc dichotomy between the haves and the have-nots. I believe that Shiori's juxtaposition against Judy in that arc is very similar to the Wakaba stuff. Like, you're not special, you're not like Judy, you're not above it all, so Ruka's going to pursue Judy over you. There's a little bit of that to it as well, a little bit of tragedy there. But again, I'm still going with my interpretation last week where it was partly just Shiori just doing something until she saw the end of the world, and then she's like, man, I'm all in now. But it's more based on the end of the world than than Ruka himself. Interesting. I'm unsure again on interpretations there, but it's very good to talk about, right? Also, yeah, talking more about that final scene again, right? Because there's the matter of Juri not understanding or refusing to understand the sacrifice that Ruka made for her. So is there some magic going on where she just doesn't know and reality is kind of changed and she doesn't like Shiori anymore? Or is there a thoughtful acknowledgement that this probably is true and she's suppressing these feelings? Or is something else happening? Again, it's very much up to interpretation, which I like. I'm even going to heart my own comment. Look at that. Big boy hearting his own stuff. Sure. I'm more confused about that episode after that segment than I was before, but it's very, very good. Again, I wanted to reiterate my earlier point. Like, hey, like I said, that this episode wasn't one of the best. It probably is like top 5. It's very, very good. Especially, yeah, 29 in particular. 28's no slouch either. It's very good. I've been umming and ahhing about doing Utena tier lists, like best episodes, best characters, best whatever else, best duels. I don't know. Best songs. I don't really know the songs that well, but like I might do something like that, similar to how I did for Symphogear and Monogatari and that kind of thing. So look forward to it potentially. Maybe it's a little segment on the end of episode 39. We will see. Either way, I've been rambling too long. I got to do that Patreon shout out now, of course. If you subscribe to me on Patreon, I will give you a shout out, which is always good. As well as, of course, getting the episodes that week early, which is what everybody wants, of course. So thank you very much to the people who did just that, up to and including Annie, Greg, Mickey Babbers, Trails Plus Plus, Adley, Bobbin, Turbo Ribby, Domobot, Ed, Fleur Nightingale, Fruit, Gloriana Tenebrae, Gus N, Heath, Ika, Yako Yavanen, Jacob R, Joran, Clem, Nosta, Lou, Max, Mish, Nick, Pencil Sharp 333, Ron Lad B and K, Sam 1373, Skeleton, Victoria S, Without a Net, Zach, Binchy, Hans Peter, Kelvin Cawthorn, Marsh, Aidan O'Brien, and Shawk. So thank you very much to all those people that gave me money. I like money. Now, I am also very confused, chat room. I don't know what we're doing next. What the hell would episode 30 by itself even be? Again, based on the content of this arc and my understanding that 31 and 32 is a two-parter, you would think that goes into Torga / Archeo, their whole plan, revelations around Anchi, big reveals, big spectacle, big. 30, what the hell are we doing? We've already revisited Mickey and Causeway. We've revisited Julie's stuff in a 2-episode arc pretty comprehensively. We've done Nanami. What are we up to? Like, Torga something? Is Torga this episode and then Archeo the next 2? Something like that? Maybe? Wakaba? Are we going to do some Wakaba stuff? That could be interesting too, coming off of course, probably my favorite episode 20, I believe it was. I'm just confused. I don't know where we're going. Actually, no, I had a preview last week. This is like Utena's feelings around Archeo. Or Anchi, based on interpretation of whatever that preview was meant to say. Interesting. Okay. Because it's like, okay. Because Archeo heavily implied to be the prince / related to the prince / metaphysically imprisoning the prince, whatever that means. So sure, the literal premise of the show, that's like kind of what Uten has been looking for this entire time. Makes sense. However, we've also had a growing kind of feeling and a growing closeness between Anchi and Utena through the rest of this arc, which I think may be pursued as well. So I think we're playing off which one is Utena talking about. I will say. I hope it's Anchi for her own sake, for everybody's sake, for the school's sake, for my own sanity, for everything. But again, I have the feeling that won't quite be the case because there needs to be a kind of going down before, go back up again. It's classic structure. We may hit a rock bottom here pretty soon before rising back up out of it. And things will look bad before they look better. It's that part of the story. classic end of Act 2 type beat. But again, we will say this show has done nothing but subvert my expectations, so sure. Chill stuff. If you like the video, consider liking the video. If you like the video and you want to see more, consider subscribing. Comment on the video. I'll try to reply to the public ones as well, of course. Discord, you can join Discord and talk about Utena with me like those people did. Maybe you'll even get highlighted if you have images and stuff like Joran did, so I don't know. It's up to you guys. Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to jump into the episode. All right, I'll get episode 30 up and I'll be right with you. Rightio, I have episode 30 up there ready to go. 23 minutes and 28 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly with your copy. That copy is the Judas one that I am currently using, the Judas file set. Apparently the PGS subs, which I am currently using, are also the Nozomi subs. They're very, very similar, so hey, if you want to use that Nozomi free version that I showed earlier that's on YouTube in certain territories, you can do that. So again, if you don't want to bear with BitChute and its terribleness, which still exists in the description below, you can access that in one YouTube window and then put mine in another. I don't know, that could be something. It's up to you, basically. I'm going to press play on the video in like 3 seconds. So 3, 2, 1, go. Indeed, we're back. Bit of Utena on a Monday morning, like I often do. I still really need to buy a new headset. This one's a little bit fucked up at the moment. Again, I'm sorting out my own audio stuff. I don't need to rant about it in Utena. I'm recording as well, which is always good. Again, I get the feeling that Utena is going to make some bad decisions, maybe this episode, in the forthcoming episodes, leading to a change of heart, something reveal, episode 33. Something like that, we'll say. Just then again and again, I'm trying to get the connection between all the characters here. The system is continuously failing them, is what I think is happening. Whatever that system is for each specific character, nobody's happy at the moment. Something broad themes of growing up and coming of age. Yeah, I think that's the main connection. There's my favorite penis tower as well, which I love to see. There's Wakaba. Wakaba sided? Is this... No, it's not Onion Boy, is it? Okay. What an odd start. Good old kiss on the eye. You can't really count something like that. The barefoot girl. I mean, that's her prerogative. She can do what she wants. What's this music? Are we baking? He's a whiz in the kitchen? I can bake a cake. It's not hard. Just do it. I'm not sure about all the icing and everything. What a hero. Stop glazing. Leave the glazing for the cake. Huh, we've repeated that twice now. Interesting. You're ruining this. Wakaba, settle down. The red flags are everywhere? Jesus. Settle down, Utena. Oh, what is that transition? This is a very interesting episode thus far. I think it's cool. She's telling Utena to take her normal pills. Gendo Akari? Oh. What are you gonna say? Who's going to Amsterdam? What are we talking about? uh, hmm. A little bit easy. Wow, what a hero. The bare minimum. I just wanted to get you out of the situation. This is a feel bad episode, chat room. It's very similar to episode 1. Kind of the fading into the sunlit garden. I really like the candles too. That's a great motif. We're not loving it, folks. Just want to keep everybody on the same page there. No. Stop. Bad. What's this music? I'm seeing this car a lot too. Ah. Funny. She's very funny. Oh, that's great. Don't get in my man's car. We know what the car represents. He's showing off his big, shiny red car. $2, you say? It's a long time. Damn, Wakaba really slid in. Okay, bye. Wakaba did slide in, that's crazy. But also that's good because I don't want Utena in the car. Okay. Interesting. Now, does that car imply what I think we're implying? Not, I don't think so. Okay. Just cheat, lol. It's just a drive. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. I think I get what we're getting at there. Dunno. You're still dunked like crazy. Oh my god, he's watching from the shadows. Or not. I see him in my dreams. It's a metaphor, chat. I think you're just horny, which is fine. Just not with. Just don't let the guy take advantage of it. I really love Archie this episode. Sup? Does he just drive around the school like randomly? Like through the courtyards and stuff? Just like running kids over? Interesting. I wonder what a candle going out means. Well, I know what a candle going out means. But what does it mean? Huh. I don't want to hop in your car. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Nope. Hmm. Why are you taking me on a date to the hospital? Interesting. 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 Yo, this episode's really good. What an odd thing to say. Does he put on mascara? Maybe. Interesting. This reminds me of like an 80s anime pastiche almost with the car and the convertible and the hair flowing. Don't touch my legs, you freak. A little bit of Cinderella to that as well. I don't know about the penis tower right there right now. I don't know about that. Oh, the barefoot girl. stop. Somebody needs to stop my man. He's a fucking menace. Whoa. But only one candle remains. Oh, and then the fade in there. Okay. Whoa. Spooky. Yeah, I know. It was implied. I'm still not loving it. I'm gonna tell you right now. That penis tower. Hello, shadow girls. Please save me from this hell. Is she me? Let me see them toes. Why? What is this animation? I'm connecting the dots there a little bit. Yep, hello. Little candelabra type thing. What are you guys going to talk about? What do you mean by that? I had my full during the afternoon. Hmm. Oh, there is. Okay. Part of her thesis is correct. Interesting. Again, there's an implied thing with Archie and the prince, too. Okay, we're definitely doing the Cinderella thing. Yes. Have you been watching the show? Did she? You were kind of absent after she defeated you, so I don't know. Yeah, the golden goose, didn't you say, boys? I remember that. Don't play the romantic music. It's downright disgusting. It sickens me. Oh, you're back. I forgot you were even in the show. I think most of the other characters did too. Oh, don't. Mm, mm. Yeah, we kind of fought in a dream once. Okay. Who the fuck is this? What the fuck? What is happening? Eh? Yeah, huh. I thought we might go here. Stop licking my leg, you freak. Alright, now they fucking. Cool. Yeah, that's what I thought the white rose before was signifying. Or Dory. Interesting from Wakaba. And is that our lead in? Goodbye, candle. Cool. Well, not cool. This is terrifying. That sucked. But the episode was really good. Lots and lots of little neat visual metaphors. Archie was a star this episode without saying a lot. I thought there was a lot of really, really good touching, really, really good voice acting from her. Showing she has a duty to do what Akio wants her to do, but there's another side of her that wants to betray that duty, which has gone across very well in the episode, I think. Utena's been kind of dumb, but she's allowed to, because she doesn't know. If these two here on screen right now have made a lot of progress this arc, then this is that progress being caught up to again with Akio. Again, very confusing stuff. I love the prince. Akio's not the prince. But he seems to have some prince-like power, something, blah, 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 blah. Something, something, Archie has an obligation to him, but also has her own prince. Something. Alright, what's next? Banana, something? Nanami, something? We're talking about blood types? Why is Nanami in bed? Okay. Weird. That's not where I thought that two-parter next week. That's not where I thought that was going. Okay. Okay. There's a lot to discover here, and I'll come back shortly with the episode to do just that. So we're back, episode 30. This episode made me want to get out like the spray bottle and like spray Utena and be like, no, don't do that. Stop. Go to horny jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. That's what I wanted to say to her, but she didn't hear me. She didn't heed my warnings, and she is seemingly barreling headfirst towards whatever is on screen represents. Big, tall penis man, that kind of thing. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of the events of the episode as it pertains to the story, but that is the point. It was a good episode. It was well executed, very, very interesting for multiple characters. Akio was a star. Archie was a star. Utena's been really dumb, but it's told in a pretty cool way. Wakabu is even quite interesting here. There's a lot to talk about, so I'm basically just going to watch it again and talk about the things that I think as I see them, right? The episode starts on a number of shots that are repeated. We often see this classroom window now. We're using this shot a lot, even recolored from episode 29, which is kind of interesting. I think this is Onion Boy. Interesting. But we start the episode proper with a view into the classroom. A lot of, well, not a lot, there's two. If not three, there's like couples talking to each other. They're talking about first times, first kisses, that kind of thing. I think they're conflating the two in a bit of a weird way as well. A lot of the episode centers around this idea of a first time and a first kiss and the difference between what they may mean. First kiss, a little bit more innocent than a first time, especially for a high school at the moment, and kind of talks to this dichotomy in Utena between the first kiss, which was this very fairy tale romantic moment, blah, 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 juxtaposed against the raunchier, nastier first time, right? Which she is implied having with Akio this episode, right? We're doing there's a lot of penis imagery, there's a lot of car equals sex imagery. Like, we're implying that they had sex this episode, right? Just not really, but kinda. Again, the most you can do in a shoujo, I guess. We've also, I guess you would say, the normies here are talking to each other. Like, normies, definitely normies. Utena's special. Utena's sitting in that main character seat. She's looking out the window. She's looking for something else. Nothing that's in this classroom right now. So I go into this a little bit later as well in a little bit more detail, but I wanted to make a bit of an overall summary statement of, I guess, the thesis of the episode and what I think most of everything here is trying to get at. We're comparing and contrasting two first kisses for Utena, right? One of these here from the prince is literally set up and framed as a fairy tale, right? It's a kiss to save Utena more than anything else. It's a classic fairy tale. It's almost like Snow White. It's a kiss to save her first and foremost. There's no there's no lewd energy to any of it because it's very juvenile. It's very fairy tale, it's very classical, it's very G-rated for general audiences. Compare that kiss in the past to this kiss here in the present, right? Notice how we've almost swapped who has their eyes open and who doesn't have their eyes open. Who's taking note of what's going on and who isn't, right? Based on what their eyes are looking like. And it's very obvious in the episode. You have the stuff around the cake and her getting older and the candles and blowing at the candles, right? She's growing up. We're taking away the old fairy tale princess idea and she's moving into womanhood and whatever that means. However, the problem is you're involved and you're planning everything and you're planting seeds and those seeds are sprouting and all that kind of stuff, right? That's the problem. The problem is you. This is I'm not going to say it's good, but it's not inherently bad if the guy doing it wasn't a fucking scumbag. I don't know. Yeah, again, just this contrast between these two kisses for me is so important to understanding what this episode is trying to get at and how it's rewriting certain portions of the show, up to and including the first thing we saw in the show, which of course was that fable, was that fairy tale. I don't quite know the Japanese translations here, but we have Onion Boy here talking about first kisses, right? And apparently saying it's your first kiss is really shameless. And then he's like, well, potentially I should say first time instead. But to me, in that translation, that sounds worse. Yeah, it sounds better to say it's your first time, doesn't it? Look, lies like that are totally transparent and sets a pattern of mistrust. Well, we're setting a pattern of mistrust with Akio as well. Okay, sure, maybe. Either way, all this talk about first kisses, Utena starts thinking about her first kiss, kissed her on the eye. It's also a metaphor. He didn't actually kiss her on the eye, right? It was wiping her tears away with the kiss is what we're getting at. I just like saying that she got kissed on the eye because I think that's a funny thing to do. Could poke an eye out with that thing too, Jesus Christ. The episode is called The Barefoot Girl in a kind of a we're talking about Cinderella, right? If you need a refresher, Cinderella, evil stepsisters, didn't let her go to the ball, forced her basically into domestic slavery, which is kind of weird. By happenstance, there was a fairy godmother. It's interesting there's a godmother this episode as well, or somebody in that kind of sphere. Grants her wish, gives her a dress, gives her glass slippers. She goes to the ball. She has a wonderful time. But however, it strikes midnight. She's going to change back. Hey, let's grab that slipper. Or she leaves a slipper behind, and then that's the thing that links her prince to her. in a very traditional fairy tale sense. Now here we're obviously subverting that, but there is some imagery of shoes off and that implying things as well, some kind of princely connection between the princesses and the princes in this episode. Up to and including Kanai's mum, which is fucking strange, but sure. I'm gonna keep saying a lot of penis tower this episode. A lot of penis tower for sure. Okay, so let's have a chat about the candles, right? They can mean a lot of things. I'm centering on two things at the moment, but they're pretty versatile when Archie starts carrying them around as well. We got one, fire, passion, love, hate, all these kind of things that come from fire. The turbulence in Utena's mind as represented by the wavering candle as well being blown out. And then we talk about candles being blown out as the metaphor as well. Somebody's birthday, somebody coming of age, somebody getting older. So obviously these are the things we're talking about when we continuously show these candles throughout the episode. There is an ominous tone to the episode as Utena gets older and more convinced by Akio that these candles keep blowing out, right? They're also associated with Anshi when she's carrying them around, as Anshi kind of watches on willfully as Utena's defenses continue to get drawn down, right? Knowing, of course, what she knows about what Akio's plan is, or whatever that may be. It also could talk to some personal emotion in Anshi as well. She's been quite possessive of her brother, but also wants to get away from her brother, as represented through a lot of this arc. It's complicated. Again, there's probably more here, like number of candles, placement, which one gets blown out first. There's also, I guess, the fact that the cake itself that the candles are placed on right now, Akio baked. So it's like, this is my plan. This is my baked plan. Now blow out the candles on the plan right now, quickly. And yeah, she kind of falls for doing that in that process as well. Again, quite a bit there. Wakaba's role in this episode is quite interesting. There is a line later on about Wakaba and her personal theming that we've seen through her personal episodes that I'll talk about. But for right now, what she represents is, I guess, the devil on Utena's shoulder in a way. We talk about her lines a little bit later in the episode with Anshi as well, where it's like, hey, love isn't something you choose. You have to pursue it, even if it's morally incorrect, even if you're technically home wrecking and doing any of that stuff. It's your God-given personal right to go through and pursue that. And that kind of drifting into Utena's ear and becoming part of her kind of ethos as we continue, maybe. Another very obvious one that I saw very early, Anshi doesn't really have Choo-Choo throughout this episode. Again, Choo-Choo is a representation of Anshi's own personality type operations. Like, it's her when she's being normal. When she doesn't have Choo-Choo with her, she's a little bit more controllable by Akio. That's what I'm getting at, right? So if Choo-Choo's not around, Choo-Choo's asleep at the wheel, Choo-Choo's doing this, Choo-Choo's doing that, Anshi's just being full-on controlled by Bro. That's what I'm saying. Everything in this show means sex. Like, he continuously says this line here. Like, don't talk about it until you try it type thing, right? Like this face, enticing them to try the cake. Enticing them to try the car ride, enticing them to try him. That's what he's trying to do right now. Again, another link into the candle thing with the birthday cake, of course, as well. Both characters here in this scene on that side of the table do try his cake and try his car this episode. There's also this separation here, which I really like, if I can grab a frame of it. Like, hey, yeah, you two are almost kind of victims here, and we're both complicit in that. We're both trying to take advantage of that here at this moment. I think I read this as a little bit of sour grapes from Utena as Wakaba comes in and repeats all the same compliments she just said, which Wakaba notices, and then they have a little personal conversation between them two. Like, I think Utena sees what Wakaba's doing. Like, he has a fiance, you shouldn't do this, blah, 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 blah. But she's also simultaneously telling herself this. Very dismissive of the two girls kind of snickering to themselves about plots and that kind of thing. Typical wicked girls plots, eh? A bit of sarcasm there, but you can't help but ring a little bit true with how you actually think about women. But anyway, I'll digress. Very early in the episode, we see a bit of Utena blushing as we get this look from Daddy Akio, which is no good. Following that up, we have Anshi sitting there as well, a little bit pensive, just kind of looking at her and then thinking, hey, maybe this isn't the best place to go. Feeling a little bit guilty about everything. Like, again, she's technically my bride at the moment. I'm technically cheating on her as well. But it's more complicated than that, considering what we know about Archie and Akio behind closed doors as well. So you feel bad for cheating in two aspects. Whenever you're talking about Kanai this episode as well, you're also talking about yourself cheating on your partner per se. The first shot of the candles there, kind of wavering a little bit in the wind, of course, right there, just kind of unsure about things, uneasy, unsteady. It's very hard to, because this would imply that the fire is a protection rather than a representation of the passion. But it's also, again, aging. It's also getting older because it's a candle. Okay, yeah, there's quite a bit there. I'm interested to see others' interpretations there. It's a very interesting cut here between Wakaba and the teacher, right? If you don't loosen up a little bit, you'll never fall in love. And we kind of transition the dialogue there to the teacher talking to her, right? Where we're immediately saying that she'll never fall in love. Utena will never achieve what she wants to achieve if she doesn't loosen up. But at the same time, we're associating that with her wearing the clothes that she's wearing. So loosening up is being kind of directly kind of correlated with losing this part of her personality, which is wearing the masculine type clothes and all that kind of stuff, right? Again, you'll never fall in love if you don't conform, is what we're saying there as well. If you don't lose your uniqueness, people won't fall for you, which is, again, presented as a bad thing. These two are the bad guys in the scene. But then I think what Akio does here is also it's almost tokenistic. He's coming through and he's like, what you guys are saying is bad. It's like, yeah, well, duh, obviously. And then walks off and tries to get brownie points with Utena because of that. Like, that's not good either. I think there's layers. See, it's like a cake. There's a lot going on here, is my point. It seems like almost this uniqueness aspect is something that both Akio and Torga still want to keep in the grand scheme of things, in their grand plan. Because they seem to praise that when we see their car ride a little bit later in the episode as well. But I think it's more like keeping her uniqueness in so much as I can possess it, possess her power in the same way. Okay, maybe. I think the vice principal's being a creep. I don't know what a ruffled skirt is, but apparently, like, girls must wear ruffled skirts. I think he's being a freak. Yeah, I mean, maybe if this like does it for you. I don't know. It's not me. No, thank you. It's just a bit of an odd thing to say, I think. A lot of color analysis stuff here as well. It seems like we're doing like a deeper red, and we're associating that with Akio a lot. Again, we talked about it last week. Red equaling passion, red equaling sunset, end of the day, end of the arc, getting older, something, something, something. He also just wears a red shirt, which works as well. A couple of things here. Akio comes in and he's like, hey, what about what did we say, the middle school social event something? And you guys have to attend it or something? I'd like to attend the middle school staff social tonight. Okay, so you're going to come along to their staff social, like their social night, and just wanted to announce that, and that would make her happy. Because again, Utena's still in middle school, technically, into high school next year, I think. But then the thing that I wanted to talk about was this look on Akio's face, like here. This is very sinister, and we're talking about the sister school in Amsterdam and sending somebody over. So I don't know if that'll go anywhere. Sister school in Amsterdam's kind of interesting. I don't really know about that. But is it something where we're trying to get the vice principal away and he's kind of just volunteered to get himself away as well so Akio can have more absolute power over everything? Maybe, I don't know. Either way, the most concrete detail at the moment is Akio comes in and essentially saves Utena from the beratement she's getting from these two teachers at the moment. But of course, in the process, being really touchy-feely with her, that kind of thing, blah, 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 he's hot, and so forth. Again, here's where he's doing the bare minimum. Oh, and try not to constrict the students so much with the rules. Oh my god. What a hero. Feminist icon, Akio. There was also another interesting comment from the female teacher here that praised Akio's fashion sense and kind of disparaged Utena's. Like, Utena, you're not wearing what you're supposed to wear, right? But Akio, that guy's wearing that cool shit. It makes him so cool and unique and stuff. And again, I think there's a kind of gendered bias thing going on there for sure. Because again, what these two are wearing isn't ultimately that different. Similar color schemes, maybe even inverted a little bit. One's just wearing pants and the other one's wearing shorts. Like, but this is not allowed because reasons. It's a weird one. I'm a fan of your gallant style, Utena, is what he says here, which is, again, we've talked about that with regards to Torga, and they want to keep that aspect of her as they continue, but also keep her in the palm of their hands. Harness her uniqueness for our own personal gain. There's also the fade in here on the Sunlit Garden, reminding me of the first episode and that kind of fateful meeting between Anchi and Utena. At least a little bit, right? We're reframing that because Akio's here now. He's standing almost in the way of this moment in the kind of the frame design here, like standing in the way of Utena going in deeper and going closer into Anchi's little personal space and that kind of thing. Anchi watches on from her little sunlit garden at the moment, like a prison cell, unable to do anything, unable to be heard, just kind of sitting there and watching. Like, it's kind of heartbreaking, right? She clearly doesn't want this to happen. Also, the language here of Akio moving in even further. Like, it's watching the creep win the episode, right? Because he's making steps forward, right? No longer associating Utena as just, the friend of my sister. No, you're my special friend now as well. Superseding Archie's role almost as Utena's partner. It's kind of interesting that this is almost a faux love triangle as well, with Archie, Akio, and Utena after the episode about love triangles as well. More and more we see these candles, obviously a very specific motif in the episode. Oh, this is great too. So Utena catches herself and says, "Idiot, what are you thinking?" Akio has, and then doesn't finish the sentence, but the only thing we see is the rose seal glimmer, right? On that ring finger. So Akio is engaged. He has a fiancée, right? But at that same time, I feel almost betrothed to somebody, which I think is the prince, based on this ring and this rose seal. I'm betrothed to the game of the rose duels as well. Something betraying her prince, something the rose seal representing her link to Anchi as well. Like, Akio has a fiance, but I too have a fiance and a partnership as well that I would break if I pursue this. Next scene, we have kind of Akio showing off his big red shiny car to Utena here. Again, we've talked about what the car represents and what Wakaba sliding in here represents as well. Again, here we have Wakaba sliding in. Don't call me Shinohara, call me Wakaba, we're close. And then, yeah, kind of rubbing up against Utena. Why are you guys sneaking out? I thought you weren't pursuing him. Blah, 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 blah. You're being dishonest. Are you jealous of our relationship? Blah, 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 blah. Wakaba's played for a bit of a fool here, but there's an interesting line later which I will talk about. A lot of great cartoonish animation here. You'd imagine this translates pretty well to the manga which this is adapted from. Kind of a pretty straightforward adaptation here. Feels very manga panel. A lot of jazz in the soundtrack as well. A bit of saxophone, just, very freeform, jazzy type playing. Very sexy type music for our boy here. The whole time almost almost ignoring the conversation and like rubbing his own car. Like, oh yeah, I'm getting ready, right? I know where this is going. And Wakaba just jumps straight in. Hey, I'm gonna go on a ride in your car. It must be fate that I ran into you like this today. And then again, Akio, knowing the pull that he has over Utena here, is like, hey, yeah, okay, it's personally beneficial for me to have sex with you as well, Wakaba. I would like that. That would be cool. But also, it gets me closer to Utena, because I can sense some jealousy here, a little bit of competition. Something when you're young, hearing about a first time makes you want to speed up and have your first time as well, right? Like, wanting to keep up with the crowd, wanting to keep up with everybody else, not wanting to fall behind, kind of harnessing a little bit of that and influencing Utena that way. Akio very specifically says he has 2 hours to spare as well, and they both hop in the car. No, you can't hop in the car. This is only for dates. And yeah, Wakaba gets to go on her little date with Akio, right? Again, we're not going to mention age gaps, but it's not great. It's not great. It's not very good at all. There's this look from Utena here as well. Really deeply pretty jealous here. Like, oh, and not really understanding how she feels about it either. Also, this shot lingering on it, the bye-bye, like the way she says it, which again will be kind of repeated later for a way different effect. Like, again, we'll say. It's also very fun because there's the initial first episode stuff with Wakaba and Utena as well, where Wakaba feels like Utena is her boyfriend, right? Even in a playful manner, right? Not serious like everything else has been up to this point. But it's almost like Utena is losing one of her fans to somebody who is now a fan of somebody else, right? So again, when we reflect this later and it feels like Anchi is being cheated on, kind of even both ways, right? From the Utena side and the Akio side, we kind of use that same phrasing and kind of glaze over the eyes of Anchi. Again, we'll talk about it again when we see it. So again, in a very subtle way, we also have Wakaba and Akio leaving on their little car trip before we see Penis Tower again. You see where this is coming from. Wakaba is in the classroom the next day, sitting on the desk in front of Utena, flaunting what happened on their date. I'll never forget this experience. It felt so good. You know, fill in the blanks where you will. However, Utena keeps bringing up this fact that Akio has a fiance, something which Wakaba wants to continue to forget about, right? It was just a drive, don't overthink things. It was just a drive, you reckon? Interesting, and what that drive represents. It's just that. It's not like we're in love or anything. Again, then we, pick up on the twinge of jealousy from Utena. Wakaba pushes that point because she's being a bit of a brat. And then this, right? Then we have Archie walking in and announcing herself, "Good morning." And then embarrassed because you're thinking about, technically cheating on her right now. "Oh, Himamiya, good morning." Himamiya as well. No Anchi to it. Separation. And we emphasize that separation again with a Utena-sama, right? I am just playing my role. Right now, my role as the Rose Bride is to call you Utena-sama, even though we're way closer than that kind of honorific indicates. Separation. This face, it's almost strained. It's like something is happening that is out of her control that she can't stop and is feeling really anxious about it. Again, Utena feels bad, kind of gets all fluttery in the eyes and looks down at her ring. Shit, I'm having these feelings about Akio when I'm still engaged, technically, to Archie. Through all of this, she continues to bring up the prince as an idea as well. I'm in love with the prince, the original premise of the show. Again, based on episode 13 or whatever it was, the first flashback, we see some kind of place which Akio goes to where he sees the prince is silhouetted and imprisoned. Now, again, this could be literal. There could be a prince up there in the castle that keeps floating down and powering up Utena, right? That could exist, that he's trapped up there and that is a different bloke. But it could also be a metaphysical trapping of the prince by Akio. A little bit of god devil stuff there going on as well, when that is only a part of him as well. Because we're implying through some of the car rides that Akio is the prince. But maybe the prince was a different him long ago, and something happened and he changed. So the prince that you want and the prince that one day inspired Anchi is now no longer the same guy. It's a representation, a memory of this person that we have in our minds. That could be a direction we go. Uten is really questioning herself here. Why am I having these feelings when I have this prince, right? These princely feelings, the love of my prince, wanting to be like my prince, made me the way I am today. Again, subverting the first episode a lot here, where she does make that dunk of the basketball, and it's meant to show off her uniqueness. It's meant to show off her difference from everybody else. I'm trying to present masculine. I'm trying to, be like the prince instead of wanting the prince to love me, right? That was the original twist. Is that what makes Utena who she is? Kind of. And along with that, that first love of the prince is her entire sense of self in that way, right? However, this sense of self, this uniqueness, right, is being whittled down by something in her mind. Look at Big Akio up there, appearing in her fucking nightmares. The shot here, it's almost like horror movie stuff, right? So losing focus of her sense of self in this moment, good at sports, presenting masculine, playing basketball well, all that kind of stuff, right? Losing track of that by Akio and hurting herself in the process, making herself drift more into Akio's arms. There's a lot going on there, right? Again, more to that same conversation from the teachers, right? Like, hey, you should, dress like a girl and you shouldn't do all these other things that make you stand out, blah, 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 blah. But now you have this love of Akio, which is forcing you into that same role. It's a lot of what we we're talking about in the first arc as well with the Torga stuff, right? After she was like rescinded the Rose Bride to Torga and all that kind of stuff, she fell back into a normal character type role. She put on a normal girl's uniform and just went to school. However, by the end of that, she came back around, mostly thanks to Wakaba, right? And her love of Archie and that kind of stuff, right, is what inspired her to kind of change back. Now it's almost like those two forces that inspired her to change back in the first time are now telling her to do the opposite. Both Wakaba and Anshi are pushing her towards Akio. Huh. Ha ha ha. Okay. Shit. Again, I can fucking yap for hours, but we gotta get some fucking momentum, Jesus. Another subversion of the Cinderella stuff going on right now is through this ankle injury, which persists, right? Where instead of we're placing a shoe on somebody's foot, we're taking that shoe off. You had this fairy tale in your mind, right, with your prince, where it was very similar to Cinderella. You had this perfect vision of love and fairy tales from a very young age, and he's going to find the shoe that fits you, right? Akio's like, no, fuck that. You're becoming an adult now. I'm going to take that shoe off of you and show you something else. Like, I'm taking away your fairy tale. I'm taking away your shoe. I'm taking away your fairy tale. And now you're going to work for me, basically. Which, again, is very, 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 very smart. And is basically entirely through visual language. I don't need some bloke exposing this at me. I can come to my own conclusions about it. There's a little bit here of Utena's reluctance as well to admit that the injury is bad. She wants to keep being tough. She wants to keep being, again, like herself normally. She wouldn't normally, get all up in arms about this injury. But she kind of lets herself be doted over by Akio later on. Like it shows more hesitation and kind of turmoil for Utena as she's like, do I tell them about the injury? Do I not? Anshi is the one that she's lying on at the moment. Are you all right? Sorry to bother you like this, but my foot's kind of hurting. And then Anshi, almost in a working for Akio type way, takes her to the perfect spot where Akio can ride past and give her a car ride. There's something about the character posing here about, like, I've got my hand on your heart right now, but that will be taken away. I'll take Utena away later and leave you in the lurch. Like, it seems like Utena is going to admit something to Anshi, but then the car roars up and Akio drives into frame and we don't get to hear the end of that sentence, right? It reminds me a lot of Anshi and Utena's little, bedroom conversations as well. They want to tell each other things, but they can't at the moment. Another really obvious connection here is Oni-sama for the brother and Utena-sama for Utena as well. I put these two on a level above me right now. I am subservient to them. Almost in a Cinderella-esque way as well, I am subservient to my older sibling that bosses me around. Interesting. And yeah, we're doing a lot of Nanami subversion next episode as well, talking about her in that same context, kind of almost replacing Archie. Huh. I don't know what specifically makes the candles go out, but all three will go out by the end of the episode, kind of like this building tension between Akio and Utena, right? And I want to repeat myself as well. I really think there is a connection between, like, my idealized prince as I'm growing up, like from a fairy tale that I hear from a very young age, versus lust, what she's feeling right now. She thinks the guy's hot, right? She thinks he's hot, and that's a different feeling to an idealized prince from a young age. Again, those candles going out. As I get older, things are changing here. This really is the horny arc. It really, really is for all the characters. So Akio just happens to drive by. He puts Utena into the car. We're going to go to the infirmary, that kind of thing, right? See you later. And then kind of goes around to the other side of the car. Oh yeah, Hibime can come too. And then here we have Akio denying Anshi, right? She can't come along. Three's a crowd with dates. Kind of repeating Wakaba's words there. Back at her, right? Some really, really great voice acting here from Anshi, which I've talked about as well, where she's very official and chipper and like she's doing a job. But then we'll see her by herself after the fact and she's not so chipper. Bahahai. Right? And I've talked about this already the first time we saw the scene, but we're putting Anshi and Utena in the same role with regards to watching another cheat in front of you. Of course, we don't get a view into her eyes here because they're glazed over. But you have to imagine the eyes, which are hidden at the moment, are revealing her true feelings, which her body language at the moment isn't really getting across. This is another fantastically directed section as we follow kind of Utena's little descent here, right? For one, it's very similar to what Wakaba described the drive as, right? Something I'll never forget, by the water, by the sunset, that kind of thing. There's also that pensive POV shot there from Utena. She doesn't know what to do. She's feeling very nervous in this situation. Again, we've talked about it many, many times here, but we're associating the car with sex very often, so, pensive about having her first time. That kind of vibe as well. There's also a bad touch to you saying that we're basically family now, considering what you do with your family members. Up to and including older family members by law, which is odd too. It's obviously on Utena's mind. We're talking about Kanai, right? Your wedding soon, you know, you're engaged to this beautiful woman. But the way we're framing Utena here, it reminds me of, do I still have Monogatari on my computer? Maybe. If not, I'll just get it up on YouTube. It reminds me of this kind of stuff, right? Which again, we subvert through the opening in Monogatari for sure. Kind of this really classical 80s type anime pastiche, which we then cut through with something else in Monogatari. And again, another age gap romance too. There's something to that. There's definitely something 80s wise, Drive by the Car in the convertible with the beautiful girl, the hair flowing in the wind kind of thing that we're getting at here. Like, for sure, for sure. There's some similarities there. Like in Monogatari, we're setting it up for a cool subversion later on with regards to Araragi. But here we're playing it pretty straight. Like, like Utena thinks she's having her romantic moment right now. Penis Tower also being shown as well, which I like to bring up as often as we can. There's the moment here where Akio also acknowledges that Utena has brought up the fiance. It must mean I have her hook, line, and sinker at the moment. Here's what I was talking about before with the shoe. Does it hurt? The doctor says you should stay off of it today. Penis Tower. It's fine, I can walk. No, I'm going to take off your slipper, right? I'm going to hold your foot. I'm going to lean in to kiss, very romantic like. Don't be unreasonable. We're going to get together right now. Taking off her fairy tale. You no longer want the prince. You want me, right? Right? Akio, you're a real playboy, aren't you? Because you're so good at making girls feel good. Again, if the metaphor wasn't subtle enough, there you go. Subtle in quotation marks. Subtle. Oh, this is interesting too. Akio relates to Utena and her uniqueness. I'm dangerous, almost dangerous, the same way that you're dangerous in that you're cutting through gender conventions, right? I'm dangerous in the same way. I'm cool and hip and a revolutionary and blah 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 blah. No. Bad. Stop. And then, yeah, deeply uncomfortable, blah, 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 but what about the prince? But I will carry you now. Lean forward, lean down, the two start smooching, that other candle goes out. One other barrier to the defense has gone down, is my major read. Maybe something, first crush, first kiss, first time, something like that as well. Either way, now Anshi is bearing the candles. Like, again, those eyes still glazed over, an unwilling participant in this portion of the game. She's not liking the way things are going. I'm with her. But she is unable to shirk her duty and has to watch as one of the last lines of defense pops down here. Another fantastic frame, of course. I don't need to go into this one that much, but it's just really great. And we cut in here with a kiss somehow. Yeah, right there. Oh, his eyes are open too, which is classic. Like, yeah, deeply uncomfortable. I don't like this. Again, you could poke an eye out with that thing. Yeah, these eyes open. All part of my plan, you know. Playboy type operator. Again, penis tower, and then into Shadow Girls. And the Shadow Girls were fucking weird as shit. Let me try and understand this again. So, pretty obviously, we have one character here that wants another character to take their shoes off. But why should I? They're my beloved red shoes. I want to keep them and I want to keep on dancing. If you wear them, you'll keep on dancing until you die. I know I shouldn't, but I can't stop dancing. You're like that too. You've got a pair just like mine. But I just carry mine around. I don't put them on. Never wears them, but carries them. You're a fool who carries them, but won't wear them. Life's too short to never dance. I don't understand that at all. Obviously, it's got some connections, right? I'm trying to think who the character is that carries around her shoes, doesn't wear them currently, but doesn't put them back on to dance? Like, it's something Anshi Utena, right? Maybe? Something Wakaba Utena? I don't know. Somebody's got to try harder there because I can't see. Whenever I try to do, it negatives back on itself. It's not fitting with any of my theories here at the moment. Either way, we see the kind of cosmos in the background there, right? As we see those candles again, right there. And it's kind of this final light in the night before we go to sleep again, almost like a final chance for Anshi to do something when she's actually alone and not being observed. We bring up the idea of hunger, and I think that links to the cake. I think that's what we're getting at, right? But it also links to a different kind of hunger, like a kind of horny hunger, I think we're getting at. Because we have Archie asking if she's hungry, but then it's like, you didn't seem to eat much dinner tonight, you're off your food, you're thinking about something. Yeah, I wasn't very hungry. I had eaten something already. It's like, hey, Utena, you're not really into this conversation tonight between us two, where we're sleeping in the same bed together. It's because I've already had my fill elsewhere. I've already had some of Akio's cake, so I wasn't hungry for dinner. I wasn't hungry for you anymore. I've had something else. I think Choo Choo sleeping here is Anchi asleep at the wheel a little bit, not really pursuing all the red flags she's seeing going on right now with Utena. Wakaba told me something, that you can't help it when you fall for somebody. We see 2 moons here as well. Something something constellation, something something star of Mercury or Venus or whatever. What have we said the Lucifer shit was? Archie here somewhat agrees with Wakaba, says, I do agree with her in some portion, right? There is some people which you shouldn't pursue romantic relationships with, no matter how the feelings are. But there's some part of that which you also cannot control. This speaks to Archie's situation at the moment as well. Like there's a part of love that I can't control right now for myself personally. And maybe that's predicated on some of this Prince stuff we're seeing in the past in her like brief flashback we saw. However, Utena reads this a weird way. We see the candle here, right, after she hears that. You really think so? And normally that's been associated with these feelings for Akio. Whenever they grow stronger, the kind of wind blows and the candle gets a little bit more kind of tenuous, that connection, right? Gets a little easier to blow out. So I'm thinking Utena makes a read on what Anchi was just saying about being unable to control love and thinking, oh shit, that's almost a go ahead on what I'm feeling now for Akio and makes my defenses drop even more. Like I would like to think these are like a Yu-Gi-Oh episode and like they're like life points in the corner, right? And like her life points keep going down as she keeps falling for this scumbag guy. That's basically what this means. Just replace all these candles with a little counter down here that is trickling down to 0. That's what we're seeing. Utena asks if there's somebody that Anchi loves, right? I have a prince of my own, is what she says. Now, technically, she does have a prince of her own based on our little flashback we've seen. Whether or not that's just Akio is yet to be seen. But she also has a prince which she's holding onto the hand of right now. Like, you're my prince as well, Utena. Don't forget that. We have a connection there, romantic or otherwise. However, we don't pursue that even further, and we instead go into a conversation between Torga and Akio, where we really play up the Cinderella thing, right? Utena is the owner of the glass slipper, the shoe you have right there right now. So that indicates to Torga that these two have done the dirty, basically, right? So it's like, oh, you've fallen for her too. Well, I'm in love with her too. Blah, 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 blah. Weird vibes. And apparently, the loss of Torga to Utena shock his core beliefs to their core. Now, let's follow Torga here, right? So, 1, he falls for Utena and tries to play up the fact that he's Utena's prince. And there's evidence for that, there's evidence against that, blah, 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 blah. I don't really want to talk about that part of it, right? Following his arc, he then puts a frankly convoluted plan together by which he manipulates Saionji to attacking Utena and then jumps in the way and kind of plays off of Utena's feelings for Torga based on that he might be the prince. Because he keeps saying it, he must be right. So Cool then uses that as leverage to get Utena to stop dueling and then become normal again, but then she gets inspired back out of that by Wakaba / Anchi, and then they fight again, Utena wins, and Torga goes and sulks for a season, right? Goes and sulks for basically an entire core. Now, somebody said that this was due to the voice actor and him having something wrong with him and he couldn't reprise the role and the vocals at that time, right? So was there actually more dialogue to Torga, who was actually going through a little bit of a metamorphosis at that time, and that loss to kind of Utena spurred that on a little bit, right? And then on the other side, he comes back, he's in his big red shiny car along with Akio, and he's feeling more inspired. Kind of that Utena inspired me to be the me that I am right now, to change from my initial plan to whatever this plan is here. Is that what he means? Because otherwise I don't really see it. And then they both said that Utena is a good girl and kind of reminisce. You guys have good insight, we're on the same page, and we're riding this car towards the end of the world again. We wake up on the penis tower, and then we see Utena stirring some tea, and Akio brings up the same thing that Archie brought up. Again, linking the two as kind of potential love interests for Utena. You didn't eat much yesterday. We have these candles center frame again. Now they're diegetic to the scene, and we see that only one is left. Utena seems embarrassed about Akio asking the question of if she's hungry. You didn't eat very much last night. Because how am I supposed to answer that? How am I supposed to say out loud, I'm not hungry because I ate earlier in front of Anchi, right? Because if I say that in front of Anchi, then I'm, admitting I'm cheating, blah, 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 blah. I think that's what we're getting at here. We're saved by the bell here, we see Kanai, but we only ever see Kanai from this long off shot. It almost reminds me of Mikage's secretary. Remember that? Where we never really zoomed in and saw a better look there. Again, I think we're in Akio's mind right now. You're not important, so I'm forgetting about you, I'm ignoring you, that kind of thing. And then we pan back to this shot and we see that Akio is standing over here with these two younger girls. Of course, we know that Kanai and Anchi have beef from their episode earlier. Very specifically as well, Kanai is like, have you been busy stargazing? Now, whenever Akio stargazes, he's actually just sleeping with the sister, which she just pipes up here, good morning, Miss Kanai. And of course, coming back to that point where it's like, she never calls me big sister, blah, 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 blah. It's because you're being used as a pawn right now, right? You're not actually endgame, so why start calling you big sister? There's no point in that. In that same breath, we have Kanai focusing on Utena, who may be her new romantic rival as well. The zoom in, the focus off of Anchi onto you. However, Utena feels guilty, doesn't want to say good morning, blah, 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 blah. And then, would you care for some breakfast? Would you care for some food? Are you hungry as well? Nope, my mother's come instead, right? And there's mother. Hello, mother. And then we cut back to that same shot, right? It's been a long time, Akio. Everybody fucking leaves. So this is more like, again, it's Akio's focus on who's important and who's not in the scene. Because either they just fucking dipped, or he's just focusing on who's important now. Now we have Red Rose, deep red. Now red was Torga, which is weird. Huh. But red is also kind of you, but you're also white. Hang on. And you're calling her Okasan, which is mother-in-law, but that's neither here nor there. And yeah, Kanai is gone too. So again, irrelevant. I'm focused on the mother instead. And then the white rose up here was the indicator for me for where the scene was going. There's something I want to discuss with you, something that we can't discuss by phone or by mail. Akio, have you been avoiding my daughter lately? That's what the mother kind of hones in on very early. We also have the kind of observatory equipment in the foreground. It's overbearing on the scene. Again, stargazing, sleeping with my sister, sleeping with Anchi. That's what I've been doing when I've been avoiding your daughter, avoiding Kanai. Basically, Mum here is threatening to cut off Akio from his power if he doesn't continue to, be a good fiance to Kanai, right? I basically know what you're doing. You're ignoring her. You're hanging around these two little girls all day. You're being strange. So just trying to put Akio in his place here. However, Akio then does the ultimate power move and instead puts the moves on the mother. It also gives the game away a little bit. For everybody, right? It shows us that none of this is predicated on romantic connection. You're just sleeping with people and loving them insofar as it gets you further, right? He's just sleeping around to get whatever he wants, basically. Because he makes her smell the perfume, right? Gets real close to her, gets real sexy-like, starts whispering, and then brings up her husband, the chairman, and then who cares about him? We don't get to see her eyes here. And he knows he's got a hook, line, and sinker, bends down, takes the shoe off. What happened last time in the episode when we took a shoe off? I'm taking away you from your fairy tale, from that chairman, and we're going to do something else. And then the light shut off, it goes to dark. We see a little bit of that starry sky come in, always implying that Akio is sleeping with somebody whenever it happens, right? You're the only one, my only prince, is what she says. So again, if she can be manipulated like that, it means Akio can manipulate anybody using the same method. It means that what we saw in the rest of the episode is bad, is manipulation to gain power. Because it is every single time. We end the episode where we started it. We have Utena unsure about things, hearing about Kanai-san again, how gorgeous she is, the fiance that I'm, home wrecking at the moment. And now this is an interesting line from Wakaba, right? Like, she's beautiful and, elegant, and most of all, she's rich. I get the feeling I could never compete against her. And from that point, Wakaba kind of backs off. Now it's the important character's time to shine, right? It's more Wakaba stuff. It's she rules herself out of any immediate stuff, right? In the wake of hearing that the important characters are here. I could never compete with the Ojo-sama like that, right? So I back myself out. Probably because I've been burnt before. As soon as, Sayonji was an important person again, he left me. So I don't want to hurt myself again by getting my hopes up and getting my heart broken by another important person per se. Which is interesting because then that reflects Kanai and Anshi. It makes those two connected in Wakaba's mind as well. There's a lot here. There's a lot here. And then, yeah, we end the episode here with the candles, right? Where she's unsure. She keeps thinking about that time when we smooched in the car. And then the kind of fire goes out. The last remnant of Utena's defenses has come down. And bad things will occur because of this. We're basically like mind-fucked Utena. It's very similar to the first arc. Where after what happened with Saonji and Torga, we got the feeling that Utena was about to make a mistake. And I'm getting the same feeling here. You're being manipulated pretty easily, I can say, and it will result in bad things occurring. Basically that. So yeah, that was an episode and a half again. Yeah, I mean, bad touch. This is a feel-bad episode. But again, there's so much there with the candles and the cakes and the cars and the shoes and it all connecting to changing Utena and different characters' reactions to that. And the mum stuff is super interesting as well. I guess the mum stuff exists mostly in that episode to show how callous the rest of it is. It shows that Akio will do anything and sleep with anybody to get what he wants. So it's not special. He slept with like many different characters of the show, right? Again, we're waiting to see what endgame is for any of these guys, but yeah, there's a lot there, and I kind of just want to stop talking about it and let it happen now and be less predictive about things. So I might just do that. But another good episode, obviously. It's wonderfully directed and everything that comes with the show, obviously. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next week. Episodes 31 and 32, finishing an arc. Looking forward to that next week, so 2 thumbs up. I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. Patreon if you want those episodes a week early. Bye-bye.